Welcome to the Fairy Tale Knowledge 9, Lesson 4, The Frog Prince, Part 1. What do we already know about fairy tales? Once upon a time is something we hear when we think of fairy tales. Happily ever after. Magic is used in fairy tales. They're princes and princesses, kings and queens, castles, places in far off lands. And there's a problem and a solution in fairy tales. What do you see in this image? This is a picture of a green frog. What do you remember about frogs from our Animal and Habitats domain? What sound does a frog make? What do frogs eat? Where do frogs live? Have you ever seen a frog in real life? Today, you're going to get to hear a story with a frog as the character. As you listen, see if you can identify the characters, the settings, and the events in our story. See if by the end of our story you can understand the word retrieved. And listen carefully to hear about a magical frog and how he overcomes a problem. Once upon a time, a mighty king lived in a palace in the shadow of a dark, mysterious forest. He had only one child, a beautiful little girl with long flowing hair, and her favorite plaything was a bright golden ball that looked just like the sun in the sky. Day after day, she would run and skip under the shadow of the huge forest trees, tossing and bouncing her ball to amuse herself. She liked to pretend that her ball was indeed the sun and that the whole wide world was hers to play with. One day, however, as she spun the ball in her little hands, it slipped from her fingers, rolled over the leafy ground, and fell splash into a deep well. She ran quickly to the edge of the well and peered in, but her beautiful golden toy had vanished into darkness. She began to cry loudly because she was not used to disappointment when she suddenly heard a timid, scratchy voice behind her say, "What is the matter, princess?" Spinning around, she realized that the speaker was the ickiest frog she had ever seen. "I have dropped my ball into the well, and it is lost forever," she wailed. Wailed is another way of saying cried loudly. The frog looked up at her and blinked. "I could get it for you if—" "Oh, Froggy, I'd give you anything you want if you could get my lovely ball back. You could have my crown." "I don't want a crown," the frog said. "Or my jewels," she offered. "What would a frog do with jewels?" he wondered. "I don't care," the princess snapped. "Just get my ball." "Well," the frog said, "I don't want jewels, but I do want a friend. It is lonely life being an icky frog. If I fetch your ball from the dark, chilly well for you, will you agree to be my friend forever and love me?" and share everything you have with me? Of course, the princess promised. But in her heart, she thought, who cares what the old frog wants? He'll never leave this well anyway. The frog did not know her thoughts, however, and he dived eagerly down into the well. A few seconds later, he emerged from the water, holding the precious golden ball between two slimy webbed hands. It was very cold down there, the frog remarked, but the princess was not listening. Hooray! She cried and seized the ball. She immediately ran back to the palace. The frog croaked after her, wait! I cannot run as fast as you. She ignored him, however, and considered the matter settled. That night, however, while the court feasted, a loud knock sounded on the door. The princess loved visitors, so she ran to open the door. But who should stand on the palace stairs but the icky, warty frog? She slammed the door in his face and ran back to her delicious dinner on her golden plate. Behind the heavy wood door, though, she could hear him croaking, oh, careful, careful, Princess Fair. Promises are more than air. Fair means to be charming or otherwise pleasing. Who was at the door, my daughter? Asked the king. Nobody, just an old frog, she said, and she told him how the frog had retrieved her ball from the well, or how the frog had gotten her ball from the well, on the condition that she would be its friend and share everything she had with it forever afterward. She thought her father would be pleased with how she had escaped the frog's demands. But to her surprise, he frowned. Daughter, we must keep the promises we make. What kind of kingdom would we have if we all treated each other the way you have treated this poor frog? The frog kept his promise to you, and he helped you. Now you must keep your promise to him. Go and let him in. The princess was shocked and wanted to refuse, but she could see from her father's stern look that she had to obey. Unwillingly, she got up and opened the door. The frog was still patiently on the steps of the palace. When he saw the princess, he smiled happily. A smiling frog is quite a sight to behold, and bounced up and down with froggy glee. What do you think is going to happen next? Tomorrow we will continue this story. Make a prediction, and let's find out if our predictions are correct tomorrow as we finish the story, The Frog Prince.